All right, quick goodbye story. And then to tie together a lot of the things we talked about today, I think you'll like this story. So I get on an airplane, and I like to sit in the aisle seat, and that's where I'm at. And I hear I'm watching people come onto the plane, and I'm playing that game that you play on airplanes, which is, I wonder who's sitting next to me today. Have you ever played that game? And a beautiful woman gets on the plane, and I thought, well, maybe she's going to be sitting next to me, and she walks, and she goes by. It's not her. And then a big guy, supersized guy, gets on, and I think it might be him. And he walks by, it's not him either. And then I hear my seatmate before I see him, because he's talking on the phone. I don't know how this happened, but we talk on the phone louder than we do in real life. And I used to be super annoyed by this until I realized you can learn a lot of personal things about people just by listening to their personal conversation. So he gets to my chair, and I hear him, and he's saying goodbye to a child. And that's cool. Dad's leaving home, that's fine. And he's got two pieces of luggage. One's going to go in the overhead bin, the other one's going to go under his seat. They both have a luggage tag of a Michigan manufacturer. I recognize the name of the company. He probably works there. Now he's saying goodbye to a second child. He sits down, he's saying goodbye to a third child who's crying into the phone so loud I can hear the kid from my seat. And an interesting thing happens. The flight attendant says, she's closing the boarding door, you have to put your cell phones away, which means this guy has to hang up on the crying child. Very sad. And he says, Daddy's got to go, Daddy's got to go, Daddy's got to go, and click, and Daddy's gone. And I turned to my seatmate, and I said to him, I felt bad for him, and I said to him, Daddy's leaving home, huh? And he does this big sigh, like the weight of the world's leaving his shoulders, and he says, yeah, he says, my kids do not like me to leave home. And I said, how many children do you have? And he said, 3. And I said, what are their names? He said, Sally, Sandy, and Scotty. Scotty is the oldest, and he was the one that was crying the loudest. I said, how old are they? He said, 4, 5. Did I tell you the ages? And then I said, do you work at that company, that tag is on the bag? And he says, yeah, I sure do. I said, why do you travel? He says, well, I have to travel 16 days a month because I'm sales manager at the company. And I said, well, why do you have to travel 16 days? And he says, because I got to make sure my people are working a full day. And then he got this strange expression on his face because he's realized he's given a complete stranger a lot of personal information. I now know the names and ages of his kids. I know how old they are. I know where he works, how often he travels, and I know his biggest problem at work. He knows nothing about me, and it's time to play catch-up. So he looks at me and he goes, I'm sorry. He says, I didn't get your name. And I held out my hand first because I know the person who holds out their hand first has influence in any interaction. I held out my hand and I said, my name is Michael Angelo Caruso. And he shakes my hand and he says, Michael Angelo Caruso. He says, that's a great name. He says, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I teach sales managers how to get their people to work a full day. He says, can I have a card? And the lady in front of us says, I want one too. So you see how all of these techniques can be tied together, put together, to help you be more proactive with relationships. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation today. Thank you for all the great work you do in the community. I look forward to seeing who's going to win an award tonight. Thank you very much.